Hi, I'm Angela Murray, SHRM SCP, SPHR, and your favorite HR coach. Your comments and all of your messages have not gone unnoticed. You've been asking for HRCI tips, and I'm here to deliver that today. Today we're going to dive into everything you need to know to tackle the HRCI exams with confidence. So if you're tired of overstudying and overthinking and you still feel unsure, then this video is for you. I'm breaking down 3 tips that'll not only simplify your HRCI prep, but it's going to give you the confidence to crush your exam on test day. And I'm going to give you a bonus tip at the end, so stick around for that. Number 1, stop overstudying the low weight domains. The first mistake people make is they treat every domain equally, but not all the domains are created equal, and spending too much time on your low weighted topics can actually hurt your chances of passing, because about 80% of your score comes from 20% of the content. This is called the Pareto principle, and it applies to HRCI perfectly. For the SPHR, leadership and strategy are the heavyweights. For PHR, it's employee relations and business operations. If you're not prioritizing these, then you're wasting a lot of time. So the first thing you need to do is download the exam content outline from HRCI's website, highlight the highest weighted domains for your specific exam, then spend 80% of your time studying that and mastering that area before you move on to your lower weighted areas. And don't just study it, apply what you learn. For example, if leadership and strategy is your focus, then practice questions that require strategic decision making. If it's employee relations, study real-world examples of conflict resolution and compliance. This targeted approach means you're mastering the content that's most likely to show up on your exam instead of burning out on the smaller details. You're going to walk into the test prepared for what matters most for your exam. Number 2, use the question dissection method. This next tip is about simplifying complex questions. I call it the question dissection method, and it breaks down every question into 3 parts: the situation, the action, and the outcome. First, analyze the situation that's presented. What's happening? Is it turnover or conflict, or is it strategy? Then you need to determine the action that the HR professional is expected to take. And then finally, what is the expected outcome? What result does this question want the HR professional to achieve? Let's look at this example question. An HR leader is tasked with reducing turnover in a competitive market. What's the best approach? A, conduct an internal survey to understand the employee's reasons for staying or leaving. B, analyze workforce data and external market trends to determine key engagement initiatives. C, implement immediate salary adjustments to meet or exceed industry benchmarks. D, focus on improving workplace culture by offering flexible work options and wellness programs. The situation here is high turnover in a competitive market. Now, what action is the HR professional expected to take? Well, it says a HR leader is tasked with reducing turnover, so the HR professional needs to determine the best retention strategies. Finally, the outcome. After it's all said and done, the outcome should be a retention plan that is aligned with market trends. So you need to choose the answer that reflects that. Let's look at the answer choices again. Okay, so again, A says conduct an internal survey to understand the employee's reasons for staying or leaving. Now, surveys do provide insight into employees' feelings, but they focus on internal perceptions. So that's going to limit the HR leader's ability to develop a retention approach that is competitive if we're thinking about the broader job market. So it won't give us the outcome that we're looking for because we won't have enough data. C says to implement immediate salary adjustments to meet or exceed the industry benchmarks. Compensation is an important factor. We know that. It's important for reducing turnover, but it isn't the only factor. So focusing only on salary adjustments may overlook the real reason. D sets focus on improving workplace culture by offering flexible work options and wellness programs. It's pretty much the same as we just talked about. Flexible work and wellness are important, but they may not be the root cause of the turnover. So that leaves the only option that addresses both the action and the outcome, and that is B. B says analyze workforce data and the external market trends to determine key engagement initiatives. Engagement and retention are they are deeply connected because employee engagement is a key driver of retention. So if we analyze both internal and external data, it's going to give us what we need to employ retention strategies that are going to target exactly what the employees want. So there you will have the answer. So when you're dissecting your questions, always ask yourself, what's the situation that HR is dealing with? What action is required to solve it? And what's the desired result? You can practice this by taking maybe 5 or 10 questions and dissecting those questions and using this method. You're going to be amazed at how much easier it's going to be for you to identify the correct answer when you are dissecting the questions using this method. Okay, so my final tip is learn the HR decision hierarchy. After you dissect the questions, you can use this hierarchy for your trickier questions. Most HRCI questions follow this hierarchy, and it tells you how to think like the test creators. Number 1 in the hierarchy is strategic alignment. Does this action support organizational goals? Number 2 is compliance. Is it legally sound? Number 3 is impact. Does it improve efficiency or does it improve the outcome? So the first thing you want to look for in your correct answer is strategic alignment. Because if a solution isn't aligned to the organization's goals and it doesn't align with the organization's vision, it won't even matter if it's compliant or not. We won't even get there. We won't be able to determine compliance at all if it goes against the organization's direction. So that's not even something that we would have to assess. But once we determine that it is strategically aligned, it is then imperative that we consider whether or not it's compliant. We do not break laws. We do not break regulations or rules or policies. Now, after we've determined compliance, we have to evaluate for impact. Will it solve the problem effectively? I'm going to give you an example of this hierarchy in action. An employee requests a flexible work schedule to accommodate a personal situation. The manager informs HR that flexible work arrangements are not permitted under the company's current policies and directs HR to deny the request immediately. What should HR do first? A. Deny the request as instructed by the manager to ensure policy consistency. B. Meet with the employee to understand their needs and ensure compliance with legal requirements. C. Support the manager's decision by issuing a formal response denying the request, ensuring the employee signs off. And D. Delay responding to the request until leadership revisits the flexible work policy. Now, spoiler alert, I'm going to give you the answer. So the correct answer is B. But let's use the hierarchy to determine why. Remember, the first thing we need to consider is strategic alignment. Meeting with the employee allows HR to evaluate whether granting flexibility aligns with organizational goals. And those goals are like retention or employee engagement or just maintaining a supportive culture. This ensures the decision contributes to the long-term workforce strategies rather than short-term and reactive responses. Next is compliance. Understanding the employee's needs ensures HR assesses any legal obligations we may have, like under FMLA or ADA. This step avoids non-compliance with labor laws, and that could lead us or expose the company to legal risks. So if we are proactively addressing those potential legal concerns, it is going to keep the organization protected. Finally is impact. Will it solve the problem? This approach is impactful because it gathers information that we need to assess the impact on the team and on the workload. It also engages with the employee, and it maintains morale, and it prevents escalation of dissatisfaction, and it ensures the organization meets its legal obligations. B balances the strategic priority of employee retention, the legal requirement to comply with workplace laws, and it is impactful in that it solves the problem by correcting the non-compliant directive that is embedded in the question itself. So when you're reviewing your practice questions, reorder the answers using this hierarchy. Start by asking yourself, does this strategically align? Is it compliant? And is it impactful? And this isn't just a test tip, really. It really mirrors how HR professionals should operate in real life. Okay, now I do have a little bonus tip for you. This bonus tip is about reading between the lines. HRCI questions often use scope indicators to tell you exactly what they're looking for. So here are some keywords that you need to watch for. Tactical or compliance-focused words are things like first, or immediate action, or required by law. Strategic or long-term focused words might be aligned with goals, or most effective, or organizational impact. Here's an example of a question that is tactical focused. An employee reports harassment by their supervisor. What is the first step HR should take? First step is a scope indicator, and that means that the question is asking for a tactical, immediate action. So a correct answer might be initiate an investigation or document the complaint, because that is an operational response. Now here's an example of a strategic focused question. The HR department has been tasked with aligning talent management strategies to support the company's goal of expanding into new international markets. What step should HR take? Aligning talent management strategies signal a strategic focus on aligning the HR efforts with the long-term goals and the long-term business outcomes. This question isn't about immediate compliance or a tactical implementation or an operational response. It is about setting a foundation, setting a strategy to achieve broader objectives. So you're going to be looking for a strategic answer. Understanding scope indicators ensures you're matching the level of your answer to the question. You won't get tripped up by distractors that are either too tactical for a strategic question or vice versa. These strategies are going to help you to think like the test creators. So take one of these secrets, stop overstudying, or use the HR decision hierarchy, or dissect the questions and use it on your next practice question. You can go ahead and test it out today. You'll probably immediately see a difference in how you approach the exam. And if you're moving from SHRM to HRCI, make sure you watch this next video on how to make that transition.